Hey everybody, it's Allie and welcome to our Y&R chat for Sunday, January 10th, 2016. When Jess Walton comes back, she comes back. She was incredible this week. I was absolutely riveted by Jill. From Monday through Friday, she was incredible. The performance was so real. I mean, there were tears dripping out of that woman's eyes. I believed at every step along the way that she was fighting for her son's life. It was just captivating. In fact, I went back and watched the big scene from Tuesday's show where she tells every single person off that's there in the waiting room outside of Billy's hospital room. I just watched it maybe 10-15 minutes ago. I finished Friday's show and I went back specifically to watch that scene because it was incredible. There's just no other word to describe it. I can't believe how real it was. She was lashing out at everyone around. She even said later toward the end of that big blow up, I just want to blame somebody. And I get that feeling. She is looking at her son dying in a hospital room and looking at all of these people in the waiting room who weren't really there to support Billy within the last, within the last couple of weeks. It hasn't been that long since people were kind of bailing on Billy. But I mean, these are people who've been with Billy for a lifetime. They understand his story. They understand who he is. But Jill just lashed out at them. I mean, it didn't matter who you were. She was ready to take down Nikki, Victoria, Jack, Ashley, Tracy. She told them all exactly what she thought of them. I did enjoy the little quip that she got in about Nikki. And how, where were you? You were just slamming back vodka when all of this was going on with my son. It was just a little dig that you could tell later on in the scene. Nikki was just like, okay, Jill, I'm trying to give you some leeway considering what's going on with your son, but if it weren't, I would rip your freaking head off. Oh, that was so good. And then just really laying into Victoria. I mean, Jill made some valid points. She told Victoria, how many times have you chosen Victor over your own husband? Please, Victoria, you're a daddy's girl. You always have been. And Jill wasn't, I loved the delivery of it too. If you go back and watch that scene from Tuesday where she's telling everybody off, it wasn't vicious. It sort of had this wonderful emotional build because when she said that to Victoria about being a daddy's girl, it wasn't like, you're a daddy's girl. I mean, she didn't like force it on Victoria. It was very just almost incidental. It's just something that Jill believes and I'm just gonna throw it out there. But it really started to build as she's talking to Jack and Tracy and Ashley saying, where were you when all of this was going on? Why weren't you there to support him? Tracy, you were off in New York. Ashley, you were too busy dealing with your stuff. And Jack, you chose Adam over Billy. Ugh. It was just so well written. And that's when Nikki kind of came back and said, Jill, in case you didn't notice, Billy's in this hospital room, not because of us, but because of his gambling debt. And Jill just throws her hands up and says, well, you perfect people, you unblemished people. Thank you so much for coming here to wring your hands with my son and sit in judgment of him. That for me was the moment of the week. It hit me like a ton of bricks. You perfect people. Because nobody in that room is perfect. Nobody in that room is unblemished. And I just thought that was such a wonderful line and such a true line. And I think that Jess Walton just got it. For someone who is not on the show regularly, I really felt like she understood the relationships that had taken place, between the characters, even though the actress isn't on the show all the time. I don't necessarily agree with everything she said. In fact, I didn't agree with most of what she said, but I love that she said it. I think probably the thing that has bothered me the most throughout the course of the week and all of the wringing our hands in the hospital is the way that Victoria has been treated. I kind of feel resentful about the way Victoria was brushed aside because she's currently divorced from Billy, as if Victoria hasn't put up with Billy's crap for years. Really, truly, as if everyone hasn't put up with Billy's crap for years. But I'm sorry, Victoria had every right to be there. Victoria had every right to be involved in the decisions. And I feel like it seemed like Jill and Phyllis especially were making Victoria feel like she didn't deserve to be there. I'm sorry, but a wife knows her husband better than anybody. Victoria knows Billy in a way that they don't. And she deserved to be there to express that, to be there to support him, to be there to be mad at him, and to go through her feelings about it. Even if they weren't married or aren't married at the time, I think he was living with her, or they were in the process of trying to work on their relationship, and never mind all that. The woman has 2 of his kids. That's the father of her children in there. So just back off a minute, okay? Because I'm just telling you, I would, if somebody spoke to me like that, while my husband and the father of my only 2 children were in the hospital room, there's no way that I would have crumpled into a little ball the way Victoria was. But I also get that she was feeling shameful. I think Victoria at the beginning of the week was mad at Billy, and she was coming back and saying things like Billy's in the hospital room because of his own actions. But as the week progressed, you could see that Victoria was kind of turning into herself. I think that the guilt she felt, and maybe in part the guilt that Jill and Phyllis made sure she felt, was really causing her to crumple a little bit, and you could see that she wasn't as big as she was at the beginning of the week. But the other thing that really bothered me, probably the second biggest thing that bothered me, was Phyllis. I suppose that I should feel happy that Phyllis is someone who was there to support Billy and to represent his opinion and side of things, and to be there to try to offer some sort of explanation into his mind frame. But it really bothered me the way Phyllis, of all people, was placing blame and judgment on specifically Jack and Victoria. Jill wants to do it. I get it. That's her son. But Phyllis, who are you? Are you out of your mind? It's Jack and Victoria who pushed Billy to this. That whole mentality that was sort of hanging like a cloud over the waiting room, that it's our fault Billy's in this situation, drove me nuts. And I understand it being facilitated by Jill, but I don't understand or appreciate it being facilitated by Phyllis. Who is she? Who is she to say all of this? And I guess part of my questioning here is I don't understand when Phyllis became Billy's #1 fan. I miss the part where Billy and Phyllis developed this very close relationship, because even looking back at it through the history, Billy and Phyllis have always kind of just been tolerant of each other. I never had a sense of a very strong bond between those two. Certainly, of all of Jack's siblings, Billy was probably most accepting of Phyllis in his life, but I never really got a really strong sense of that friendship between Phyllis and Billy. So it seemed out of character or out of place that she would be fighting for him so hard? I mean, you've been maybe putting up with his crap for the last 2 weeks. All of these other people have been putting up with his crap for a lifetime. You don't really know the man. And I should be happy that she was there specifically to support Jill, and maybe that's what it was about. It seemed like it was Jill that really, it was Phyllis who really pulled Jill in and tried to connect with her and tried to help with her. I don't know why Ashley or Tracy were unable to do that. I don't know why it had to be Phyllis. I guess that's the thing that bugs me, is why did it have to be Phyllis? Why couldn't it have been Lauren, for crying out loud? That's Lauren's sister. I wanted to swap out Phyllis for Lauren during the comforting scene of Jill. I'm sure that the actress was just probably not available. She was there last week to make a cameo at the New Year's party. Maybe that's it. Maybe the actress just was unavailable. But I've said this a million times. Always had a hard time believing that Jill and Lauren are sisters. It was just pulled out of it. It was one of those storyline twists that I was just like, okay, fine. I never believed that Jill was not Catherine's daughter. That's just going to be me being a Y&R nerd there, but I'm just always going to believe that Jill was Catherine's daughter, and I refuse to believe that the other familial thing took place. But still, if Y&R wants me to believe it, you better have Lauren there, and that didn't happen. So was anybody else kind of annoyed with Phyllis this past week? I mean, for crying out loud. Where was Dr. Neville, by the way, when Phyllis was in a coma for a year? Like, thank goodness that Dr. Neville is here now. The situation is very dire with Billy. It's been very dire with Ashley and dire with Hillary previously. Like, it's so good that we have a brain doctor on the show now, because we need so many brain surgeries. So Billy is in such bad condition that it's going to require an emergency brain surgery. The emergency brain surgery is probably one of the most delightfully ridiculous facets of soap opera that have ever existed. But emergency brain surgery required for Billy. And there's this question of, well, do we want to listen to what the doctors are saying? Or Dr. Neville has taken a peek at Billy's chart, and he seems to have another opinion about what would bring him out of all of this. And the family has to make a decision if they want to go with the hospital staff's decision, or Dr. Neville's crazy, kooky idea, untested drug therapy. I'm sorry, I love you, Dr. Neville, but frankly, I don't know if I would trust the rogue doctor who has been disbarred banned. I don't know if he's been disbarred, but certainly banned from the hospital. I'm pretty sure I wouldn't necessarily trust him over the hospital staff, but that's the decision that ultimately they ended up making, and the surgery is not successful. The Genoa City Hospital surgeons they gave him the surgery, but he went into cardiac arrest while the whole thing was going on. So they weren't able to fully finish it or something, and now he's in worse state than ever. He's got very little brain activity, and the family's having this conversation in the waiting room about, difficult decisions. When are we going to have to decide if we need to take Billy off life support? I hate anytime they have that conversation. It's not the first time. It was weird that maybe Tracy wouldn't have been involved in that, because Tracy did have to ultimately make that decision to take her daughter off of life support. I would have thought maybe she would have been a good component to add to that scene, but it's like, just as an aside, just as an FYI for you guys, I have told everyone in my family to don't be pulling the plug on me. Maybe it's just me being selfish, but I'm like, I want to live. Like, if there's any chance, you better give me a week. Well, yeah, it seems like people are just like, well, we better pull the plug. It's been 2 days. Come on. Allie wants to live, and I've seen enough soap opera to know that people come out of comas. Phyllis is a living example of that. Well, let me reassure you, Billy will live. He will just end up coming out of this whole thing a different person. No, literally, like, a different person, like, on Wednesday. I wish that Marissa never would have butted up into this whole situation, because all she's done is made it worse. Noah had no idea that he was the one who hit Billy. He had no idea that he was the one driving the car. And Marissa, I think, I don't know if she assumed he did it and knew. I think she assumed that he did it and knew and lied about it. So when she's questioned by the police, she lies for Noah, tells Paul she saw nothing in the parking garage, then goes to Noah and tries to kind of slyly say, yeah, I saw what you did. And Noah, like, has no idea what's happened. She has to tell him that he ran over a man. Didn't you know, like, he knew that he hit something. Did you happen to notice anyone, like, screaming and writhing in agony while you were trying to make it over that bump? You can't tell me that even if Billy was out of it, that, like, a human body would be screaming and writhing in agony, and Noah heard nothing, saw nothing, knew nothing. That being said, in the world of soap operas, it was, like, totally believable that it was just an accident. I don't know why we are having to make a mystery and a crime out of this. It is unnecessary. I don't need Marissa to help Noah cover this crap up. I don't need Noah to feel like he has to cover this crap up. What motive would Noah Newman have for running over Billy Abbott? Just go to the cops and tell them, oh my gosh, I cannot believe I did this. It was an accident. I never would have, I have no idea what happened. Just be honest about it. And I know that soap operas, that would be boring, but it just doesn't seem like a believable storyline tangent. And I just don't understand why we have to make a mystery out of it. Paul's trying to figure it out, and instead of, like, I don't know, he's been thrown off the case, or he's been thrown off the mark, and now he's thinking maybe Abby and Stitch ran over Billy. It's just so stupid. I don't like that. I don't even understand why Marissa and Victor couldn't just let Noah do the right thing. It just creates a complication that's unnecessary, and frankly that we've seen before. Noah, right when he, like, immediately, good kid, when he finds out he did this, he wants to go to the cops, but why did he go to the hospital instead? Like, the second Noah found out that he did this, he rushes to the hospital where all of the Abbotts are concerned about, like, Billy's, whether he's gonna live or not, and he thinks he's gonna come in there and tell them all? Why would you go to the hospital and not the police station? That makes no sense. Victor catches him, talks him out of it, because of course, if anybody in town is trying to do the right thing, Victor will make sure that they don't do the right thing. And Marissa, in her squirrely little world, decides that she's gonna help him cover this whole thing up by switching out the tires and tossing them at the dump and getting him new tires, as if that's not gonna come back and bite them both in the ass. And frankly, the fact that Marissa is involved in this at all has made the whole situation escalate beyond anyone's control for Noah. The fact that she's whispering in the hall, helping Noah cover this up, just makes Luca suspicious, and he figures out exactly what happened and confronts Marissa about it. She tries to tell Luca, look, you can't tell anybody, or I'm gonna leave you, and Luca's like, I don't care. I want to see Noah go to jail. I mean, it's, and so now it's become this whole thing that it didn't need to be. I mean, look, what Noah did wasn't wrong, but the cover-up was. Sound familiar? Wait, so Chelsea never noticed that her deal with Victor didn't include giving her financial control over her own company? How did she think the bills were getting paid? I don't understand. And I don't know how that's going to play into future storylines. I was happy for about a millisecond when it seemed like Chelsea was excited about her fashion line and she was trying to pull in Noah and Marissa, and specifically Marissa. Chelsea's being so nice to all of the girls in town. She's like Genoa City's nice girl, so I like that about her. And I was kind of excited at the thought of maybe her and Marissa developing a friendship. Chelsea's like, hey, you work here, maybe you can help me with my fashion stuff and we'll both just wear fabulous things. But and then I thought, okay, well that's kind of cool if Marissa and Chelsea are friends and Adam and Luca are friends, but that's just like not gonna happen apparently now, because Adam catches Chelsea talking to Marissa and tells her, no, you don't even want to be involved with them. They are not going to be here very long. So I'm assuming that means that, well, it's so confusing. I guess I don't really understand where Adam is aligned. Ultimately, I'm sure that Adam is probably just aligned with himself, because we've seen 1 or 2 weeks of Adam developing this alliance with Luca, but then in him saying that about Marissa and Luca not being around for long, I was getting the impression that maybe he is working with Victor and is trying to, I don't know, like get Luca out of the company. Because if I think about it, what does Adam even need Luca for? If Adam wants to take down Victor, he can take down Victor. Doesn't need Luca. And if Luca wants to take down his father, he doesn't really need Adam. So it's kind of like they both have similar goals, but they aren't necessarily interdependent on one another. So I guess this can just be broken apart now. I don't entirely understand. If I had to take a guess, throw a guess out there, I would say that Adam is probably perfectly happy if Luca goes down and perfectly happy if Victor goes down. I think that ultimately Adam's his alliance is to himself. He'd like to be sitting in that chair where Victor is sitting right now, and anybody else be damned, including Chelsea. I mean, for crying out loud. You say what you will about Luca, at least Luca tells his wife things. Adam has told Chelsea nothing. He's constantly keeping things from her, whether it's the whole situation with Sage and the baby, or it's the deals that he's got going on with Luca. He's never really forthright with her, and it comes off as condescending sometimes. Like, can't you, rather than like covering things up or deciding to divert attention away from things, why can't you include Chelsea a little bit? I mean, she'd probably be up for a takedown Victor plan, wouldn't you think? I don't know. The thing that I'm curious about here is the fact that Luca has decided that the key to taking down his father is to find Marco. He needs more information from Marco about all the dirty dealings, and that's going to allow him to expose his family and take over the company, yada, yada. And in order to get that information of Marco's whereabouts, somebody, a la Adam, needs to find out where Marco is, what prison Victor has him stashed in. And I'm surprised that this is coming back up. Are we going to see Marco again? I can't imagine, right? They're not going to just do this twin thing again, right? Please. I'm hoping and begging that we're not actually going to see Marco again, because that was 2015, okay? I don't think we need to go back here for 2016. Let's put that little storyline in a box with a bow on it. We'll shove it up in the closet and not think about it again for a while. That's my hope anyway. I don't know if that's how you guys feel, but it seems like Y&R's kind of going for it, because Adam complies with his deal with Luca on the surface, making it seem like he's aligned with Luca, and he goes to Victor and says, hey, why don't you tell me where Marco is? That's what Luca wants. And Victor does? Victor gives Adam information to give to Luca about Marco's whereabouts? Is Victor slipping? Victor would be insane to give Adam and Luca a loaded gun. Kevin Fisher, I would not want to be you right now. I do not envy your position. On top of everything, Kevin feels guilty about the fact that he put pressure on Billy to get that money, which caused Billy to gamble, which caused the beating up, which caused the car wreck. It's a chain of events that Kevin kind of realizes he might have pushed the first domino on, and he does confess. He tells Paul all about that, and it's Kevin's guilt that causes him to kind of end up confiding in Jack a little bit more of the details about his association with Billy. Jack has had a total change of heart. Now that Billy is on his deathbed, Jack decides, well, all right, maybe I'll invest in this project in Billy's name. If it was so important to Billy, then I'll just magically make this $2 million happen, and I'll just give away this $2 million, and that's gonna absolve me of my guilt about what happened to my brother. It makes no sense, but I do like where it's going. I will say I do like that this whole project of Kevin's is going to end up being a little bit of a piece of meat for Victor and Jack to fight over, because if Jack is going to be involved in this big project of Billy's, then Victor wants to fish around and find out what that project is, which is so maniacal of Victor. Can he get any more like just callous? He's got to be the biggest villain the show has ever seen at this point. I mean, he goes to the hospital, even though everyone has asked him not to. Everybody knows Victor hates Billy Boy Abbott. For Victor to even be at the hospital is totally inappropriate. Victoria herself asked him to stay away. I know you want to be here for me, but it's not appropriate. You're not really doing me any favors by being here. But yet Victor has to wander into the hospital and start sniffing around, find out what's going on, and he catches whiff of this business idea, and the man can't even have a molecule of sympathy for the Abbott family. He has to immediately go jump on this deal and see if he's able to get in on it. Victor gets out of Phyllis, an unwitting sort of Phyllis, that it was Billy's deal with Kevin. Victor goes to see Kevin, and Kevin pretty much readily tells Victor about the hack, that it's a hack thing and it's gonna revolutionize internet security, which is crazy to me because Kevin has been trying to keep this whole thing top secret for weeks, and then he just tells Victor about it because Victor it has the ability to finance it. If Billy cannot give Kevin the money he needs for this startup, then Victor certainly can, which is so also very selfish. I kind of get where Kevin's coming from because he wants to maintain a loyalty to Billy. He feels bad and therefore wants to allow Jack to come in as the partner, but at the same time, Victor's got more money, Victor's got more resources, Victor's got more power. It's inappropriate that Victor inserted himself into this situation, and now Kevin has to make a choice. Which backer is he gonna choose? Let me tell you, Kevin Fisher would be wise to stay out of the middle of this war. And we have our first death of 2016. Jenna's dead. Stitch's ex-wife. Rest in peace, we hardly knew ye. We saw her maybe once or twice on screen. I didn't even mention last week that they were arguing about, that Stitch and Jenna were arguing about whether or not Max could come to the wedding, and Abby was trying to convince Jenna to let Max come to the wedding. I didn't even mention it. I don't know why. I just brushed right over it with all of the other fashion notes I was so excited to get to. But apparently, while Abby was on the phone with Jenna trying to convince her that she crashed her car, which is so not Abby's fault, but now Max is naturally he's come to Genoa City he doesn't have a mother, he naturally goes to the father, and he blames Abby for killing his mother. So now Abby has this Insta-Family. All of a sudden, she's got this child in her life who, by the way, hates her, blames her for his mother's death. It's kind of fabulous. It actually makes me far more interested in Abby and Stitch than I ever would have been. I think that we could have spent another couple weeks, couple months seeing them in happy honeymoon mode, but I feel so much better. This is terrible. I feel so much better if indeed it's going to be kind of a contentious thing. The last poll we had from last week was, how did you guys feel about Abby and Stitch's wedding? 65% of you said, I just couldn't really get into it. And 35% said, I loved it. So it seems like the majority of YNR chatters, at least, are not necessarily feeling this relationship. So it's perhaps a good thing that what we're getting is some contention in here. I think it could be really fun to see Abby dealing with this kid who can't stand her. Like, I'm imagining scenes of this kid doing, like, stomping on Abby's foot or doing little things to bug her when Stitch isn't looking, or cutting up the clothes in her closet. There's something about that just seems like it might be a little bit entertaining to me. I suppose I'd prefer to see it more on the light side, just kind of a little bit of comedic relief, because I do think that this actress playing Abby, who is not my favorite, I think she plays comedy a little more effectively than she plays drama. So I'll be happy if the things surrounding Abby and Stitch are a little more lighthearted, although it's already totally causing problems in their very new relationship. Stitch just lost his ex-wife. He's now got his kid living with him, and although that would normally be wonderful to have more contact with his son, he's got a lot of work to do to build that relationship and help the child through everything, this incredible change in Max's world. And Stitch immediately begins to align with his son. I mean, rather than saying, let's, you and me, Abby, approach this together and help my son and bring him into our family, Stitch's immediate reaction is to go at it alone, saying, you know what, I'm going to stay here at the hotel tonight alone with Max. And I think that right there is a very bad sign for their relationship. If you don't approach this together, then the whole Max thing is going to completely tear you guys apart. And right away, Max is sort of he's got a troubled kid vibe. He decides to run away, and we spend the last part of, I think, Thursday and Friday's episode looking for him. Thank goodness Kevin found him. Thank goodness Kevin is not like a predator, because Kevin sees the kid at the coffee house and starts saying, hey, I don't suppose you would know how to help me get past this level of Zombie 3000. Like, Kevin, why do you even know what, like, 8-year-old kids are into? I have no idea why you would even know that, but it's like the equivalent of, hey, little kid, would you like some candy? I was like, good thing Kevin's a good guy, because that kid walked right into the Zombie 3000 trap pretty quickly. The kid is just found, he's saved, and Stitch is trying to connect with his child, and I mean, hopefully he'll be able to do that, but it's left Abby in this total tailspin. I mean, she is so ready to eject out of this new relationship so quickly. I mean, she's getting relationship advice from Paul. Hey, Paul, how about we spend some more time working on crimes and less time being Abby's therapist, okay? It sort of seems like everybody has to be there to make it all about Abby, and Abby hasn't learned the lesson yet that she has to be there for others. Abby's not a fully formed, mature person, it doesn't seem to me. I mean, the fact that she's been married for like a day and she's already divorced in her mind and making this whole thing about her. It's it's Mariah's birthday and Sharon is throwing her a little mini birthday party just because Mariah doesn't like parties and she doesn't like gifts. And before Mariah can even get there, all we really see is Dr. Anderson coming over to Sharon's house to tell Sharon that she can start to become weaned off the higher doses of medicine that she's been receiving. I'm not sure if that is intended genuinely to help Sharon or if that's going to further make Sharon nuts. I don't feel like I understand what Dr. Anderson's goal is in messing with Sharon's medication, because there does seem to be a benevolence toward Sharon. I get the impression, I don't know why, but that for some reason Dr. Anderson really does like Sharon and wants to help her. Is that just me? I mean, obviously what she's doing is sick and twisted and what she's done to Sharon is horrible, but there's almost like this vibe I get where she wants Sharon to raise this child and be happy and be good and you know, brush her hands of anything having to do with Sage and the fact that that baby is really Sage's. There was a great little mini confrontation at the party where Sage shows up to bring Faith, and there's a moment where she picks up Sully and she's holding him, and Dr. Anderson tries to butt up in her business and say, are you sure you really should be holding the child? And you know, maybe, and I don't think you should be getting back involved with Nick. And I told Nick I don't think he should be getting back involved with you. I mean, just really inappropriate things. And I love that Sage called the doctor out and told her, I think it's inappropriate that you're having this type of personal / professional relationship with Sharon, and what are you talking to my husband for? I totally got it. I was really happy that Sage said what she did, and the fact that that Dr. Anderson took that whole situation and spun it immediately. As soon as she leaves the party, she goes and finds Nick and tries to make it seem like a totally different thing. Like, oh, I had an unfortunate incident with Sage and you need to be careful with her because I think she is kind of messed up, and like she just spun it and it made Sage look like the crazy one, which is kind of fantastic. And I'm guessing that's sort of where we are headed, where everybody's gonna think that Sage is the crazy one and she's actually right. The one other thing I wanted to mention, and I'm curious to know if maybe anybody else picked up on this, was that during the Sage and Dr. Anderson scene at Sharon's house, there was this kind of creepy music playing over the background, and she was saying something to Sage where I don't know what it was, but I just picked up on this vibe that maybe Dr. Anderson and Sage are related, that maybe they're sisters. And I've heard a few YNR chatters mention that in the past, and for some reason that really rang true with me this week. Like, maybe Dr. Anderson found out that her sister was involved with Nick, this man that was involved in her breaking her neck and that whole incident, and so maybe she came up with this whole idea to break them up and possibly get revenge on her sister at the same time. When you love someone, it's hard for the heart to let go. I think that this might be one of my favorite Who Said It quotes of all time, because I fooled most of you on this one. Only one person got it right, and that was Katie at yrchat.com. She guessed that quote, when you love someone, it's hard for the heart to let go, came from Marissa. And I don't usually try really hard to trick you guys, but I did kind of think, I bet nobody's gonna get that, because it's the sort of quote that completely sounded like it would have come from Victoria or Jill. So it was kind of contextual how I tricked you a little bit there. So I'm sorry, but I am enjoying that a little bit. Marissa was having a conversation with Mariah. It was sort of a neat little scene at the coffee house where Marissa was trying to go back and forth between Luca and Noah, and Mariah was pressing her a little bit, and she made that she's kind of waxing sentimental, and Marissa said it's when you love someone, it's hard for the heart to let go. I'm not entirely sure who she was talking about, though. That's sort of the interesting twist, because on the one hand, you do get the impression that Marissa is in love with Noah, but then she's sitting down and having a fabulous dinner with her husband and being super nice to him, and maybe her and Luca are two peas in a pod. They're both a little bit shady, and in some ways, Luca is far less shady than Marissa. During the whole conversation with her, or a conversation with her in the halls of Newman Enterprises, he had mentioned that he was always involved in the up and up part of his father's business, and he wasn't even aware of this connection with Marco. It's Marissa who gets involved with these drug dealing, seedy guys. It's Marissa who knows exactly how to cover up Noah's crime. Marissa's the bad one. Marissa's the bad girl. By the way, I loved the new restaurant at the top of the tower. Did you notice that there was a scene just at the tail end of Friday's show when Luca was telling Marissa he was about to bust out the whole thing with Noah. They were having a beautiful dinner at top of the tower. It had this kind of weird, almost out of focus wall behind the dining table, but more importantly, the beautiful view of Genoa City from the sky rise. I thought that was a very nice set. It seems like we don't usually get a new set without getting rid of another one. So I don't know what set haven't we seen in a while? Maybe we're just getting bonus. Maybe we're just getting a bonus set. Of course, then again, that dive bar, it should technically be closed in the winter, right? It's like an open air bar, so maybe that's why they did that. Anywho, I digress. I shall give you a new Who Said It quote for this week. Maybe I fool you, maybe I won't, but you tell me who said this. Life is messy. Life is messy. It's so true. We've had a whole lot of mess all week. I mean, for crying out loud, Y&R, it pretty much that could be the tagline, the subheading for The Young and the Restless. The Young and the Restless, life is messy. It was a good moment, and so I thought that might be a good quote. You tell me who you think said it. You can go to yrchat.com and leave your guess. Maybe you'll get it right, or maybe you won't. Also on the website this past week, I had put up the 2016 Y&R predictions thread to get your predictions for where Y&R will be going in the year 2016, and we had some good ones. I thought that I'd just read a couple of them for you. I mean, there are a lot of predictions if you want to check that out, but let's read a couple here. Amanda says, I loved Burgess Jenkins, but Thompson is amazing, the recast. He's an amazing actor, and I think he will be good in the part of Billy. So there, I predict that Jason Thompson will be good. Connor says, I predict that Kevin finds love with a man. Let's give Kevin a hot boyfriend. I always have heard that. I mean, there's been a couple of different points over the years where people have said, I think we're headed in that direction, and I've thought that too. It's like, ever since Kevin was married to Jana, that relationship fell apart, and he really hasn't had much success in relationships since then. And I've often thought, I wonder if they're leaving that open to kind of build that type of storyline around Kevin. But then again, it's like, Kevin's relationship with Mariah might very well be more like a Michael Phyllis type friendship. And the more that there was this moment between Mariah and Kevin, I'm falling off the Mariah and Kevin train for some reason. There was this moment where they sort of almost kissed, and it feels awkward to me now. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I don't know. I don't know if Y&R will do it, but it's a good prediction. Colleen says, I predict a Sully paternity twist. Adam is playing with Victor, and Sully belongs to Nick and Sage. Yeah, that'd be good. That'd be good, because I never felt like that was a right. It just didn't feel consistent with Adam's character that he would lie about the paternity of his own son. So that might very well be Colleen. Katie says she predicts that Nick and Sage will break up when he finds out the paternity of Adam, when he finds out the paternity, and then Adam and Sage will hook up. Sharon will go off the deep end and do something drastic to keep Dylan and Sully. Maybe that is it, Katie, because that could possibly be the result and the reason why Dr. Anderson is pulling Sharon off her meds. You're probably right. Sharon's about to go crazy is what it is. Good one. Catalina says, I predict Patty and Ian Ward will come back to wreak havoc on everyone. And also Edith mentioned that too, that she predicts Patty will return just in time to unlock the evil Dr. Anderson. That is a good, I kind of forgot about that piece of the puzzle. It is Patty who knows that Dr. Anderson is the evil one, and Patty could very well be the key to unlocking the truth about her. Edith also says that Chloe will return to Genoa City. That's her prediction. Adam says a Gwen versus Hillary feud will take place and the Winters family will begin to take sides. I'd like the idea of Hillary versus Gwen in a big bad way. I think that could be good. We need another good female rivalry. We need some people to maybe get we need some new smacks, like some girl smacks. Between Christmas and New Year and the crazy weather that we've had here, I got a little bit behind on my comments, but I'm all caught up on reading and listening to everything now. I do hope that you keep those 2016 predictions coming. I'd like to see some far off, more wild predictions too. So if you haven't left some predictions yet, you can definitely do that. And thank you to everybody who has introduced themselves on the website. It's been so good reading more about you guys, and my gosh, I've just gotten so I feel so bad for getting behind on all of my comments. Anna had left me a voicemail, I think it was like right before Christmas, and she was telling me that she unfortunately has learned that her nephew has been diagnosed with a terminal cancer, and she kind of left me a follow-up voicemail this past week that it seems like he doesn't have very long to make it. And so I just have to say that my heart is really going out to Anna and Nicholas right now. I just feel so bad, because it's like Y&R should be an escape, and I just keep thinking, oh my gosh, I would hate to be watching Y&R specifically right now and going through a medical issue of my own, or having to be there to support a family member, and to watch something so heart-wrenching happen in real life, and then to watch something so heart-wrenching happen on the screen. And that's sort of one of the reasons I've always wished that Y&R would steer away from those types of medical dramas, because there's so many other types of drama that you can kind of handle and deal with in real life versus on the show. But like when you are having to care for someone who is sick or dealing with a death and then having to watch it on screen, it's so tough. I can only imagine. And Anna had mentioned too in her voicemail that she is not sure she's going to be able to be watching Y&R. And that kind of I'm not sure if she meant that, time-wise she wouldn't be able to tune in, or if it was more of an emotional thing. And so I thought, that's kind of maybe a good question to toss out there to the community, because I'm wondering if there has ever been a time where you have decided that you really couldn't watch Y&R because the storyline was hitting too close to home. Have you ever had to turn away from the show and be like, this is a little bit too much, maybe with an illness or a death or a divorce or anything like that? Has there ever been some point in time where Y&R story has kind of collided or run in a similar timeline to something that's going on in your life, and you've had to kind of take a step back from the show because it's just too much to watch. So I am going to put that up as this week's poll question at yrchat.com, and I usually close out the polls after a week, but I'll leave that one up indefinitely. And so whenever you're listening to this, if you've had that kind of experience, I'd love to know that and to hear more about that. So I will put that up at yrchat.com. And once again, Anna, I am totally thinking of you. It's like, I think I prefer it when the show keeps it light. It's in line with my personality a little bit more because I think I see YNR as an escapism. Life is messy, and I don't really necessarily, there's just some times where it's like, oh, this is too much for like daytime, and so, yeah, gosh, ugh. Let's read some other comments though, now that I wanted to pick out some of the more relevant ones because it's been so long since I've read anybody. I wanted to grab ones that are kind of connected to things that are going on right now. Monique had left a comment on Facebook. Now this is prior to Billy's accident, but we talked a lot last week about Billy and his culpability in his life, or I talked a whole lot about it, and Monique had commented before the accident that what Billy needs is for people to stop holding his hand and treating him like a kid. Billy has to want to be a better husband and father, but his actions are proven to be different. I really like that comment. I like the way you phrased it, that Billy needs to be stop being treated like a kid, because I do think that is an element of Billy's personality. It does seem like he's always been handheld. I was thinking this week as I was watching Jess Walton that I remember when she gave birth to Billy. I remember the scene of her and her big hair, or her hair, like holding her son in her arms. And because there was a lot of drama around Jill's relationship with John, Billy's father, and nobody in the family accepted Jill at all. Nobody in the family was really happy when she got pregnant with another child. And so I think Jill always felt like she had to fight for her son a little harder because he was kind of the outsider Abbott. In some ways, I wonder if that's why Billy got treated more with kid gloves. I think that might be, but I completely agree. It does seem like throughout Billy's life, they always saw him as the kid brother. He was always someone who needed to be protected. And Billy as a character is an interesting mix of John Abbott and Jill Abbott. Or Fenmore, I guess she is now. I should go get Jill's full married name. That's got to be a long one too. But I mean, because I think that Billy has a lot of the wonderful qualities of John Abbott, but he's Jill's son. What would being Jill's son make you be? But I do think they babied him, and I agree. Everything I said last week, I still stand by. I like Billy, but I sure wouldn't want to be married to him. ACO on YouTube also left this pre-accident comment. I just want to make sure I'm saying that because I don't know if people's opinions have changed post-accident. It seemed like the residents of Genoa City, particularly Jack and maybe Ashley and Victoria, were hard on Billy prior to the accident, and then it seemed like after the accident, everybody's tone changed, and I don't know if that was just on screen or if that happened with viewers too, so I just want to make sure that I distinguish the comments that came before the accident. But ACO on YouTube says, I think that this, as in Billy, everything going on with Billy, will be Emmy bait for Peter, Amelia, Jess, and Eileen. They are going to slay with this Billy tragedy. I was thinking that too. As we were watching the hospital scenes early in the week, I thought this is definitely going to be in all of these people's Emmy reel. Burgess too, right? I kind of thought it seems like they are maybe giving a little extra to send Burgess off with a bang and maybe get him an Emmy out for what he's done. Who knows? I don't know. Beatrice called into my voicemail and said, I don't know. how I'm going to be able to commit to seeing Jason Thomas as Billy, especially if he looks physically different from him. And Gary, not Warner, said he's feeling disgruntled after seeing a picture of new Billy. He says in his voicemail that, black hair, big bushy eyebrows, that doesn't seem like Billy to me. I know. I think that the new actor is scheduled to make his appearance on January 13th. I chuckled a little bit at the end of Friday's show as we saw bandages over Billy's face. It is also such a soap opera trope. I mean, are they going to unveil the bandages and give us a new face? Didn't they do that exact same thing with Adam? That's exactly what they did with Adam, right? Didn't they unveil the wrappings and then we got the new actor? Oh, I hope they don't do that again now. Shoot, because they also are doing the same thing in essence with Noah that they did with Adam. I don't want to see that again, YNR. But I will say I have also seen a lot of, I've seen kind of a lot of both. People saying I'm not feeling this particular actor to play Billy, and then Amanda just had said that she really thinks that Jason Thomas is gonna bring it up. I'm gonna try not to be too swayed by how he looks physically, even though, I guess that's the thing, I don't feel like he looks physically like he would be Billy Abbott either, but I guess YNR's just taking the character in a totally different direction. I think the dark hair, dark eyebrows, that's all going to be an indicator of a dark Billy. I don't know. I'm gonna leave myself open though. I try not to get too whittled into actors because kind of the nature of soaps is that people get recast. So I'm just gonna try to go with it and see if I like him. We'll see. Daisy on Facebook says Jess Walton was so good this week. She was magnificent. I hope she's returning next week too, and I can't wait to see how she portrays Jill seeing her son with a new face. I know, that is going to be good. She's just been so amazing all week. I think it will be nice to see that too. This is just totally off topic, but Lot Folly at yrchat.com was also making a comment regarding Jill, and this is so out of left field, but I love this. He says, my favorite Jill relationship was the one with Larry Wharton, the handyman. Remember him and the handcuffs? I've always enjoyed seeing the occasional blue-collar characters that turn up on the program, and he was my favorite. I love that you brought this up because, oh my gosh, I am such a huge Wharton fan. The character of Larry Wharton was introduced strangely while Nick was imprisoned. I think maybe he was being imprisoned for Matt Clark's murder or something. And they brought this weird other inmate onto the show to bully Nick in prison. Well, Nick got out of prison. We never heard from him again. He was a terrible guy. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, YNR just decided to bring this guy back. And he was kind of cool. Like Lot Fowley said, he's like this blue-collar guy, former inmate, and he sort of changed his life, and he was trying to do good, but he was still a little nasty. And of course, they had to hook up a little bit of nasty with Jill. It was like one of the most unexpected and surprising and bizarre and wacky relationships. I mean, they had like wild sex all over Catherine's mansion. You know, it drove her nuts. I mean, Catherine Chancellor and all of her beautiful knickknacks and jewelry and things, and she has Jill up in her house having sex with a former convict. Ooh, it was good. It was one of my favorite things. Just absolute favorite things on YNR, and I'm so glad you brought that up. I wish they would do that again. Can you imagine if they brought something? If you guys have remembered Wharton, let me know. Go to yrchat.com, leave me a comment on the video post for this week. If you remember Larry Wharton, let me know, because I just thought it was fantastic. What if they brought him back and did like a wild battle between him and Colin over Jill's affection? I mean, Jill was just so wonderful this week. I wish she was on the show more. I'm sure it's completely because of the actress's choice, but I want more Jill. Oh gosh. I love this message, and this was also from a couple weeks ago. Dion on Facebook sent me a message that says, "Hi Allie, I just want to let you know how much I enjoy your podcast and how happy I am that you've embraced the arrival of Michael E. Knight to the cast of YNR. I was an avid All My Children watcher for decades and came to YNR when I needed to fill the gap that the cancellation of AMC left. Michael E. Knight's character on AMC, Tad Martin, was the heart and soul of that program for a really long time, so you can imagine how thrilled I was when he showed up. I love this comment from Dion because I think that a lot of people have such a hard time. I mean, to know somebody as a character on a soap for years, and then to be able to embrace them as in a new role is really special. I think that's really cool of you, Dion, because I've heard a lot of people saying, no, I can't see, no, he's Tad Martin, he can't be anything else. And I have, I guess, somewhat of the benefit of both kind of being flexible, and also I didn't know him at all from AMC. So to me, he's just this fresh, fantastic new actor who's bringing something lively to my show that I've watched for over 20 years. So I love him. I think he's wonderful. And I hope that people continue to embrace what he's bringing to YNR, because he is by far probably the best addition to the show that we've had in a while. YNR did not do a very good job. They have not in the past done a very good job of bringing in and fully incorporating other actors, even specifically from All My Children. YNR's kind of screwed it up, and I really hope that the fans continue to embrace Michael E. Knight and keep him on for our show. Charlie on Facebook says, I really wish that they would recast Noah. They need to age the character and give him some substance. The current Noah is so one-dimensional and, quite frankly, a little boy. I think I wanted to mention that too, because when we're talking recasts, I think the actor who plays Noah is okay, but I completely agree with Charlie that there's something like not of substance there, and I don't know if it's the actor. It's probably not even the actor, and maybe it's just the writing and not really giving him much to chew on, or maybe we just need some like close-up scenes of his face or something. But he does read as little boy trapped in a big old something that's way over his head. But speaking of recasts, I guess I never fully felt like this Noah seemed like Nick and Sharon's son to me. So I don't know if YNR is gonna, it seems like they're focusing on him a little bit more. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if we saw a recast of Noah somewhat maybe in the future. I mean, I do like the actor, but I wouldn't be surprised if they decide to go in a different direction. Okay, I think that should cover it for this week. Thank you all for all of the comments and all of the love. I feel so bad when I get behind, and I want to make sure that I digest and read and listen to every single thing that you guys are telling me, so please don't be shy. I'm usually really good at getting things like on a weekly basis, and before I do YNR chat, I make sure that all the voicemails are listened to, all the comments are read, and I make a little list of all of the ones that I want to talk about. And then it's like holidays come or life gets messy, and I blow it. I do try really hard to be organized. Maybe that should be one of my resolutions for 2016. Get more organized. But speaking of that, you should totally continue to tell me those 2016 predictions. I feel like maybe I should close that thread toward the end of the month, so we're not just predicting like short-term storylines. I want to get some wild predictions for the show. Like, tell me, like, where do you think we're gonna be in the summer and fall? Like, let's get some good ones out there if you haven't already, and thank you if you have. You can also go to yrchat.com to leave any comments. Let me know about that Larry Wharton. Vote in the poll, and let's see what else. I mean, there's all kinds of other stuff there, so you could totally check that out to leave your text comments. And you can, of course, leave your text comments through YouTube and Facebook and Twitter. All the links are there on the website. And my favorite, listening to your voicemails. The telephone number is 309-588-4569. Thank you guys so much for listening and commenting. And I hope you all are enjoying the show, and maybe we'll get on to lighter topics here in the future. Next week is going to be our big reveal of our new Billy, so maybe we can have some fun and kind of talk about that a little bit. Oh, I did post some new Genoa City Soap videos on the Genoa City Soap YouTube channel. If you want to escape from all of the sadness of Billy's death and losing Burgess, you can go to, let's see, well, you can just go to genoacitysoap.com, and the YouTube link is up there. If you want to see me making soap, maybe something a little lighthearted, you can watch that and come back next week, and we'll chat again about hopefully more uplifting YNR. Okay, I love you guys. Have a good week. See you next time. Bye.